Hello, welcome to Stampin' by Hannah. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the UK and I am so happy you've chosen to join me on Make It Monday. I have 6 cards for you today and I have not made one yet. Shall we get going? So, I am using the Coffee Break DSP a lot this month. DSP. Before I get any further, if I call it DSP again, will somebody hit me? Because it's not, I don't like calling it DSP. It is designer series paper, and by shortening it to anything else, I know we confuse people. So, designer series paper, which is this one here. And I've got to say, you wouldn't be able to tell it was anything to do with coffee by looking at this side, this print. But this is the one I've decided to use because it's so pretty. I love it. So I'm making my January thank you cards today. Today, as I film this, this is the 1st of February, and one of my beginning of the month jobs, one of my many beginning of the month jobs, is dealing with customer thank you cards from the previous month. So I'm hoping that by this time this goes live, the people that have shot with me during January will have received one. If you have, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Or if you're shopping with me in February and you want to receive February's thank you card, also let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you and hear what you've ordered. I love, one of the great joys of being a Stampin' Up demonstrator is seeing what other people are shopping, because I just love that. I really like it. So, I have got Coffee Break Designer Series paper. I've got an early espresso ink pad. I have got a roll of burlap ribbon. I have got the delicate white doilies. Thankful Thoughts stamp set, a piece of Whisper White, and 3 pieces of cardstock, one in Pear Pizzazz, one in Soft Sky, and one in Crumb Cake, because they are the colours that coordinate with this paper. And I didn't want to make 6 cards all exactly the same. They are all going to be exactly the same, but they're all going to be in different colours. So, I have the Thankful Thoughts stamp set out because they are thank you cards. And I am going to go, oh look at, oh you see, this is a bad demonstrator. Obviously haven't cleaned my stamps the last time I put these away, because the one I want to use is of course dirty. So I put the note of thanks stamp on my block, and then I can move the stamp set off my desk because my desk's going to get rather full. Right, first things first, let's get everything cut, shall we? So, Stampin' Trimmer. I love mine. It's my best friend. I don't have many friends, can you tell? So, my Stampin' Up trimmer. Absolutely adore my Stampin' Trimmer. It is a nice 7-inch wide cutting base. We have 6 inches on this side and 1 inch on that side. It's so handy when you're cutting little bits of things to be able to come in this way, or it just makes such a difference to me anyway. There are 2 blades on any Stampin' Trimmer. There is a light grey scoring blade and a dark grey cutting blade. Love those. We have an extending arm that swings out to give you 14 inches of cutting, which is great when we only sell to 12 inches. That's the biggest piece of cardstock we sell is 12 by 12. So you can go all the way up to 14 inches, which is great. Turn it over and it has a handy little storage compartment on the other side as well, which I never put anything in, but I could keep spare blades, bone folder, paper piercer, anything like that in there when I was going to class, which would be really handy. So, first things first, let's get our card bases cut. So, when I'm making card bases, I always start by moving the dark grey cutting blade all the way to the bottom out of the way, because I use the scoring blade first. And most of my cards are tent-fold cards, so I'll show you what one looks like in a moment if you haven't seen one already. I do my scoring first, and I will score on the long side at the top at 14.85 centimetres. I work with A4, so I cut my card bases in metric. Simple as that. I'm going to score, and then I'm going to remove the piece of cardstock, and I'm going to do the next one. And I will do all my scoring, and then I will do all my cutting. And the reason I do that is so I don't confuse myself with different measurements. Also, when you're batch making something, to do all the scoring first, then all the cutting, then it makes it much easier. So I'm going to turn my cardstock round. So I've got the short side at the top, and I'm going to pop it at 10.5 centimetres. And I'm going to use that dark grey blade that I had stored at the bottom. And now I've got 2 scored card bases. So I'm scoring once and cutting once. I am not cutting once and scoring twice. No, 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 no. Score once, cut once. And I do this even when I'm making one card, because I then have a spare one in my stash. Simple. So, next bit of cutting we need is our designer series paper. We have Stampin' Up do 2 sizes of designer series paper. There is the 12 by 12 inch or the 6 by 6 inch. 12 by 12 is 30.5 centimetres square, which is fine. We're not using all that much. So, to make the perfect mat for my card bases, I cut at 10 centimetres. I'll do that first. I'm going to cut 3 strips at 10 centimetres, which will leave me with a little bitty bit at the end. A little ½ centimetre strip, which I'm sure you could use for something, but I'm not going to use today. We're going to turn it round and we're going to cut again. We're going to cut at 14.3 centimetres. Now you could do 13.3 to 14.325, but that's, you know, just a little bit too anal. So 14.3 is absolutely fine. And you get another strip. Now that's a much handier strip, and we could use that. I'm not going to, but we could. So I'm going to cut all of these pieces down to 14.3. Just like so. Now then, the other thing we need while I am doing all my cutting is sentiment strips. So I'm going to chop this piece of cardstock down to 10 centimetres wide. No, actually I'm not. I'm going to cut it to 10.5 because it's not 10.5 at the moment. I'm going to cut it to 10.5 so that then all of my strips are going to be the same width as my cardstock, and I'm going to cut them at 2 centimetres. So I want 6 2 centimetre strips. There'll be 2 by 10.5 centimetres. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And can you see what I've done with my trimmer? I'm not cutting them this way, I'm cutting them that way. That was 4, wasn't it? We want 5 and 6. And that is all my trimmer work. So I'm going to put that away. And now I have 6 strips of white, 6 mats of DSP, designer series paper, and 6 card bases. Simple. Next thing, I'm going to stamp. So I have mounted my stamp onto my block. It is dirty. It is dirty. There is no getting around it. It's dirty. So on my desk all the time lives my Stampin' Scrub. I'm going to share this with you because I haven't shared it for a while. And I love my Stampin' Scrub. It has 2 sides. It has a dirty side and a clean side. It throws my white balance off every time I do this, which is why I don't do it very often. So I'm going to put my Stampin' Mist onto the dirty side of my Stampin' Scrub. And I'm going to rub my stamp into it. You don't need to make big motions with it, just a little bit. That takes most of the dirt off. Turn it around, put it onto the clean side. And my stamp is slightly stained, but that's absolutely fine. But it is now dry, so I can definitely stamp with it and I'm not going to make a mess. So, well, I am going to make a mess because it's me and that's what I do. So, early espresso ink. And I'm going to stamp a note of thanks on each one of these strips. I love doing these real-time stamping videos, don't you? Where you will see me make 6 cards really quickly. You know, this video might be 20 minutes, but that means that this entire process has taken me 20 minutes from start to finish. So, note of thanks. And I don't put them one on top of the other, because that might not smudge them. And the other thing I do when I'm doing this is I will line my piece of cardstock up with my grid paper, because it helps me get a straight stamp. The other thing I do when I'm putting stamps onto my blocks, quite often I will use my grid paper as a reference so that I can make sure it's straight. I don't think I did this time, but it's well practiced, put it that way. So that's that bit. Then I'm going to take my doilies now. You get heaps of these in a packet and they're only cheap as well. 24 doilies, but how on earth they're going to count there's only 24 in there, I have no idea. Because they're so super thin. So I want two, no, let's go for 2 doilies, I think. Probably 2 is probably enough. So, 2 doilies, I think that's probably, yeah, 2. And I'm going to lay them back on top of each other, now that I've pulled them apart. And I'm going to take a pair of big scissors, and I'm going to chop them into 3 pieces, just like chopping a cake. Nothing particularly scientific about it, just chopping. So the other thing I'm then going to do is I'm going to lay them all back on top of each other. And this is just so that I can just make one cut, you know what I mean? It's just quicker this way. And I'm going to chop. And I'm going to chop the kind of solid pieces off, because I know already that they're going to stick out up above my sentiment strip. Then I'm going to take some burlap ribbon, and I'm probably going to take, yeah, probably 12 inches of it. Which I've of course cut and it's fallen off my desk. Ugh. And I'm going to fold my 12-inch piece in half. And I'm going to chop it. And then I'll fold that piece in half. And chop that. So I've got 4. I'm literally doing this as I go along. So I want another, so what are they? They're 3 inches each. Yeah. So 6-inch piece, folded in half. Right. Simple. Right, I think I've got all the pieces I need. I think. Right, and this is literally how I make my cards. Do one step for every card all at once. So I do all the cutting, then I do all the stamping, then I'll assemble all of the embellishments, and we go like that. So, next thing is to fold all our card bases. I love my Stampin' Up bone folder to do this with, because I know that I get an absolute firm crease first time. It is a proper solid heavyweight bone folder. It is not plasticky. I don't know what it's made out of though. It's not one of those cheapo ones that comes in a free with a magazine. There is definitely a quality difference. Right, so next thing, fast fuse onto the back of our DSP, which for all I always call it designer series paper. I always do when I'm typing. I never ever write DSP on my blog, but for some reason today I can't get DSP out of my head. So if you are wondering what DSP stands for, it is designer series paper. And I am using my fast fuse to adhere it onto the front of my card bases. And I will do this for every single card all at once. There is no trick, or not one that I found, for getting it straight in the middle. The only thing I can suggest is practice. It helps when it's all cut to the exact right size, so that you can line up these two corners. Like I will line up this corner and make sure that this gap here and that gap there is the same. Then I will line up that one and make sure that's the same. And then I'll pull it down, and that kind of puts it in the right place. So that if you make sure that the gap at the top and the gap at one side are the same size, you should then make sure that it's the same all the way around, because there is a gap that it is half a centimetre shorter and narrower than the card front. So if you line up these two sides, those two sides will be the same, in theory. Right, Next, I want my burlap, my doily, and then my sentiment, I think. That's pretty, isn't it? Right, so, card front, fast fuse, doily into the fast fuse. Now this is where it's going to get interesting, because doilies don't like fast fuse on the top, generally. Burlap into the fast fuse, and then, yeah, fast fuse on each end of the sentiment strip. So that if you line one end up, it will line up the other side like that. Isn't that cute? I think they're really sweet. So I just need to finish the rest. And as you can, I mean, yes, okay, this video's taken me 16 minutes so far, but you know what? Like I said earlier on, that is completed. That is not, I have not actually cut any time out of this video so far. So, fast fuse on the end of the sentiment strip. I'll line that one up that end, and this one should line up with the other. I'm just thinking whether I need to add another embellishment. Maybe a rhinestone or something kind of little and cute like that would be nice. I'm not sure, haven't decided yet. So there, and fast fuse on each end. And the reason I'm only putting fast fuse on the ends is because I know that's enough fast fuse to hold the sentiment strip on, but also it's not gonna stick particularly well to the burlap. So fast fuse on the doily. This bit you need to be really careful with doing your fast fuse on the doily itself. Just because, yeah, it doesn't tend to, if you're too fast with it, and the doily will quite often rip. And it doesn't, they're really delicate. So there, nearly done. And that is nearly all my January thank you cards sorted. Oh, isn't that super handy to have all your cards made in one quick, you know, if you're doing thank you cards for wedding or birthday, or if you're still doing Christmas ones. I solved the problem of doing Christmas ones by not making any at all. I think I might have got about 10 Christmas cards actually sent this year, so sending thank you cards wasn't going to happen either. I spend that long making Christmas cards for other people that I never actually get around to making my own. So that is how to make 6 fabulous cards using the Coffee Break Designer Series paper in less than 20 minutes. Isn't that really cool? Thank you ever so much for joining me. As always, anything you've seen in this video can be purchased in my online store, link is in the down bar below, or you can find it via my blog, stampinbyhannah.co.uk. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.